In Washington, we've all seen this story play out before. A politician has a meteoric rise to one of the most powerful positions in the country, only to have a swift and very public fall from grace. It's almost a cliche. But the analysis we're about to walk through of Kristi Noem's career is anything but. We're going to look at her entire trajectory through a pretty unique analytical lens, one that claims it can see the mathematical patterns hiding just beneath the surface of politics. And that brings us to the big question here. Can something as complex as a political career really be predicted by math and a deck of cards? We're about to explore a system called the CrownLine Method. Now, our goal here isn't to prove or disprove this method. It's to understand the specific analysis it presents. It suggests that the keys to human dynamics, and maybe even future events, aren't in the polls or the punditry, but in the mathematical relationships between our birth dates, visualized through a simple deck of playing cards. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we need to decode the method itself. Then, we'll see how this system explains Noem's incredible success and her network of connections. After that, we'll look at how the system claims it actually foretold her unraveling. And finally, we'll step back and look at the bigger picture this analysis reveals. Okay, so to really get a handle on the analysis of Kristi Noem, we first need to understand the rules of the game, so to speak. What exactly is the CrownLine Method, and how does it work? Well, according to the source material, the CrownLine Method is a relationship analytics system. And this is the key. It's all rooted in mathematical formulas and algorithms. That deck of 52 cards, it's not for telling fortunes. The system describes it as a visual user interface, just a tool to help us see and understand these complex mathematical patterns between birth dates. The founder is adamant about this. It's presented as math, not mysticism. Inside this system, every single person gets assigned two main cards. The first is your birth card, and it comes directly from a mathematical formula tied to the day you were born. The second is your ruling card, and that one's determined by your astrological sign. Now, even though it uses the zodiac as a kind of framework, the source insists the whole system underneath is purely mathematical. These two cards, the birth card and the ruling card, are the foundation for everything else. So, let's make this real. For a subject, Kristi Noem, who was born on November 30th, the system assigns her the 3 of hearts as her birth card and the 5 of clubs as her ruling card. As we go through this analysis, just keep these two cards in your mind. They're her signature, the core of her identity inside this framework. So how does the method actually measure relationships? Well, it's all about looking for specific alignments between people's cards. Some are pretty straightforward, like having the exact same cards, or matching numbers, or matching suits. But it also looks for more complex patterns, like something called suited and connected, like a 3 of diamonds and a 4 of diamonds. And it even analyzes what it calls family tree chemistry across generations. These are the basic patterns we're going to be tracking. All right, now that we have the rules down, let's apply this to the first part of our story, the truly remarkable political ascent of Kristi Noem, from South Dakota all the way to one of the highest offices in Washington. Now, what's so fascinating here is that, according to the source, Noem's success story doesn't actually begin with her. It starts a generation earlier, with her parents. The analysis introduces this idea of a family tree gift, basically a powerful catalyst for success that she supposedly inherited through the very specific chemistry of her parents' relationship. And here you can see it laid out. Her father, Ron Arnold, was a king of clubs. Her mother, Corinne Arnold, was a queen of clubs. Now, according to the method, this king-to-queen connection in the same suit is an incredibly powerful dynamic. It's interpreted as a major catalyst for fame and public success, a gift that was then passed down to their child. Okay, let's fast forward to her political career. The analysis points to her connection with President Donald Trump as the main engine of her rise. And the method highlights a really compelling alignment here. Her birth card, the 3 of hearts, shares the exact same number as Trump's birth card, the 3 of diamonds. This matching number dynamic is seen as the ideal setup for a working relationship between a superior and a subordinate. It suggests a sort of built-in compatibility. And, well, the real-world outcome certainly reflected a strong professional bond, didn't it? Her appointment to Secretary of Homeland Security was really the peak of that relationship, the high point of her career, which, according to this analysis, was all underpinned by that powerful mathematical pattern in their cards. This brings us to this really intricate web of relationships that defined her time in power. The analysis goes deeper now, looking at the card dynamics with the 2 most significant men in her life, her husband, Brian Noem, and of course her controversial chief advisor, Corey Lewandowski. The key thing to see here is the stark contrast. On one hand, you have her connection with her husband Brian, which the method describes as lukewarm. Now, their cards are in the same suit, hearts, but the numeric gap between her 3 and his 13, the king, is just seen as too wide for a really powerful dynamic. But then, you look at her connection with Corey Lewandowski. It's what the system calls an inverted, suited, and connected dynamic. Her 5 of clubs connects to his 6 of clubs. And this is wild. It precisely duplicates that powerful fame and success pattern of her own parents. And then the analysis adds yet another layer of complexity. The method identifies something called karma cards. These are secondary cards that are said to represent subconscious debts or connections between people. And what's really fascinating here is that one of Lewandowski's karma cards is the 2 of diamonds, which happens to be the exact same ruling card as Noem's husband, Brian. The idea here is that this creates a kind of subconscious familiarity, a pull, that just intensifies their whole dynamic. So she had this powerful foundation, these intense connections fueling her career. What on earth went wrong? Well, this is where the analysis introduces its most provocative claim: predictive timing charts that it says mapped out her downfall with remarkable precision. But first, let's just remember the real-world context. As the source material lays out, her time as secretary was hit with a whole series of damaging headlines that really called her judgment into question. From questionable spending to accusations of her advisor wielding way too much power, all these events created a political firestorm that, in the end, led to her downfall. Okay, now let's look at the charts. This is her 7-year chart, a long-range forecast covering ages 49 to 55. I know it looks complex, but the analysis really just focuses on a few key cards. You've got the King of Hearts, her husband's card, showing up in a supportive role. The Ace of Spades, Trump's ruling card, is there, signifying his power in her career. But look at this. The 6 of Spades, Lewandowski's ruling card, appears in the position that represents dreams and fantasies, which hints at the complicated, outsized role he was about to play. Now we're zooming in. This is the 28-day chart for the exact period her career fell apart, and the interpretation here gets incredibly specific. For instance, the 5 of Spades card is said to signal a major change of work. Another combo of cards, the 8 of Diamonds and 3 of Clubs, points directly to her personal life becoming a focus of intense media scrutiny. And finally, you see the 8 of Clubs, which represents conflict. That is the exact birth card of Congresswoman Sydney Kamalader-Dove, who was one of her key public critics during this exact time. And this brings us to the most granular forecast of all, the 7-day chart. According to the source, on March 5th, the very day her reassignment was announced, her daily cards were the 6 of Spades, which is Lewandowski's card, and the Jack of Spades. The interpretation of this specific pair, on that specific day, is just chillingly precise: karmic retribution for one's actions at work. So after going through the method, the connections, and these charts, what's the final takeaway here? What's the bigger pattern that this whole analysis is trying to show us? The story this analysis tells is one of powerful underlying patterns. A rise that was fueled by an inherited fame catalyst and a perfect card alignment with the president. And a fall that wasn't just caused by random political chance, but was the predictable outcome of her own actions and choices. An outcome the source claims was written in the mathematical language of her charts the entire time. You know, at the end of the day, an analysis like this leaves us with a really provocative question. It suggests that while these deep patterns of connection and consequence might always be in play, our downfall can still come from our own choices, which just leaves you wondering, is our fate written in the cards, or is the pen always ultimately in our own hands?